Hi, I'm Sam, and I am here to share a story with you today. I thought we would go into some of Grimm's fairy tales, and I know that you know a lot of them. You know Sleeping Beauty, and you know Snow White, and you know Hansel and Gretel, maybe. But I bet you haven't heard the story of the turnip. So, with that horrifying thought of listening to an entire story about a vegetable stuck in your mind, I hope you are ready for this very grim tale. Once upon a time, there were two brothers who both became soldiers. Now, the oldest brother, he had all of the luck. When he came home, he was super rich. He had all the spoils of war. He had multiple houses. He even became friends with the king. And better yet, he had 18 ponies, some of which even had braided tails. Now, the other brother had none of that luck. When he came home, he was very poor. Now, he asked his older brother for help, but he didn't want to have anything to do with that. So he got a little plot of land and he dug the ground very, very well, and he set about to become a gardener. Well, the first thing he planted was turnips. He planted lots and lots of turnips, and it was going to be a great harvest, he could tell. One of the plants even grew larger and larger and larger than all of the rest. It was so large that by the time the harvest came around, he had to borrow 4 oxen to pull that turnip out of the ground. It was ginormous. Now, I know you're like, what's a big turnip? Who cares? But let me give you another perspective. Let's pretend that my sheep are turnips. I know, this is a perfectly normal thing to do, pretending sheep are turnips. Now, this sheep here is a regular sized turnip. And this sheep here is a giant turnip. Now you can see there's a huge difference between the little turnip and the big turnip, or in the case of Sam Props, the little sheep and the big sheep. And the farmer did not know what to do with the giant turnip. It didn't taste as good as the little turnips, and he was pretty sure he couldn't sell it for more money. So he thought to himself that really the only thing he could do was try and take it all the way to the king and give it to him as a gift. And so that's what he did. He borrowed 4 more oxen, and he had to use a goat and a horse too to get all of that turnip hitched up into a cart, and he trundled it off to the king. Now the king had everything. He had horses and gold and castles and all sorts of things. And so when this guy showed up with a giant turnip, you would think the king would be super bored with it. But he was not. He had never seen such a turnip before. This was a magical, rare find. And he was very excited. He said to the farmer, he said, "You must be a child of fortune. You must have the best luck in the world." And the farmer knew that was not true, and he said as much. But the king didn't believe him. In fact, he rewarded him for bringing the turnip by giving him so many piles of gold and multiple houses. In fact, the farmer went from being very poor to being much, much richer than his other brother. Now, I would love to say, and he lived happily ever after the end, but this is a Grimm's fairy tale, and we started this out with 2 brothers. So, my friends, it is not the end. That second brother became super jealous. He was so upset that his younger brother now had all of this gold and all of this wealth just because of a turnip. Now he knew he could do better than a turnip. In fact, he had a lot of gold and wealth and ponies with braided tails. So he took all of his gold and all of his wealth and all of his ponies with braided tails, and he decided he would gift them to the king and therefore get an even bigger reward to take home. Now, he headed out to the king's castle, and when he got there, he gave him all of his braided ponytails, and the ponies too. And he gave him many piles of gold, and the king very graciously accepted all of this generous gifting. But he really didn't know what to give in return. It's a good present. It obviously deserves something really, truly wonderful, really, truly rare. And so, after much thought and a little sadness, the king decided to give up his turnip. And so he gave that man the giant turnip. One brother became rich with castles and horses and much, much gold. And the other one had a giant turnip. Now it's a Grimm's fairy tale, and so there is more bad acting and murderous revenge in this tale of the turnip. But we'll leave that for another time. Instead, I want us to focus on the real moral of the story, which is your vegetables are worth a kingdom of gold and all of the braided ponytails in the universe. Thank you for joining us for this brief story interlude. I hope you guys are staying safe at home. Make sure you wash your hands and don't lick any doorknobs. All the best.